Mic check 1 2 1 2. Blunt Talk with LT, episode 11. We back. Gwop.com, gwop.com/shop. So basically on episode 9, had to be episode 9. We spoke about Azealia Banks and the whole Wild 'N Out shit. And pretty much I didn't want to have my opinion because I didn't get to see the whole thing. Well, I didn't get to see shit. I just got their opinion. I got Azealia Banks basically spewing her rhetoric on social media and basically spinning the story. And we didn't get to actually see the footage. So I made my assumption somewhat off of what I heard and from what DC Young Fly said on the 85 Cell show. But I didn't actually see the footage. But we got the footage like a couple weeks ago or a week ago or whatever the fuck it was. So I'm going to start off with the footage and we could fucking review it. And then we could actually see who's wrong here, who's being sensitive, who's being colorist. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to play that footage right now.
Because y'all know I'm petty as
Black Squad. Wild out.
All right. Listen, my team captain Azealia Banks is so petty.
How petty is she?
She wore these church usher gloves on stage because she said she ain't want Nick rap skills to rub off on her when they shook hands.
Pretty petty.
Terrible.
Oh, okay. All right, Chico, watch this.
My boy Nick Cannon is so petty.
How petty is he?
He couldn't get Carter B, so he got Azealia ugly ass.
Wait a minute. That's not fair. Go ahead, Bobby J.
Sorry, can I just say that was very anti-black. We are not, no colorism here on this
Get him
stage.
back!
My girl Azealia Banks is so petty. That she called Cardi B on the day she had her baby to congratulate her on being a single mama.
I didn't think that was funny. I thought that was rude. Like, let the girl have her baby.
All right, let's do it. My man Nick Cannon's so petty that he got 3 kids but only post about 2 because he be on his Drake. Not true.
This is like...
I love all my kids.
Wait a second. Do y'all like follow Instagram and stuff? You know the boy that was like gay and then he came back out and was like, oh, I don't like men's no more. Yeah, he was like, don't he look
delivered.
like... Don't he look just like that kid? You do.
I'm gonna save it for why stop.
No.
Now that's petty as hell.
But you have to enjoy your lap around the theater because you're not going to be booking any other work in any time. Enjoy Wild 'N Out. You won't even make it to Dub Comedy Jam, honey.
Enjoy your lap around the theater because you're not going to be booking any other work.
Honey, this is the ceiling.
You need to
for
find your dentist. How you take your goddamn braces off but you cut the little middle part? Stupid ass girl. She told her keep the wires. Just keep the wires.
I don't even know if I want to play this game anymore. But my team captain is so petty.
How petty is she?
That she told all her friends my was trash so she can keep me all to herself. I'ma go and leave on up out of that because you just ain't... I can't follow up with what's going on. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. I'ma keep walking. Because I don't know what the hell going on.
To be completely honest, like, you live in like a $750 a month apartment and you like can barely afford it with your Wild 'N Out checks. Honey, you live in a stick house.
Azealia, you gotta stop, man. You gotta stop. Leave that alone. We gonna have to fight.
Leave me alone.
Oh, Jesus.
Leave me
Oh, my God.
alone.
Emmanuel, leave again. It's still happening. Go back out. Yep.
gentlemen, make some noise for Azealia Banks, a true beautiful queen. Who was the pettiest out of them all?
Nick, you was the most petty, so I'm going to give it to the Black Squad.
Okay, so after seeing the footage, the thing is, we don't know what was cut from the footage. I don't know if there's other games before that led her to feel that way. Nah, that's bullshit. That's making an excuse for her. She was too sensitive. You know what the fuck the show is. You know what the fuck Wildin' Out is. You go there and people rip on you. They talk the most shit ever. People get destroyed. So what, he said you're ugly. You see Young Fly calls everyone fucking ugly. That's his thing. It is what it is. She was over emotional. She tried to use this colorist shit. She was sensitive and she was insecure about her whole appearance and everything. You can't come say it's colorist to try to get people on your side, to try to start one of those social justice Twitter. Nah, it's not working with this one. This kind of moment kind of passed already. I'm a little late on this fucking shit, but at the same time, I have to correct myself from when I was early and I was talking about it before it came out. So I had to make sure that, you know, my take was reaffirmed. Not reaffirmed, actually, because it's changed. It has to be. I basically had to do this and speak about this and revisit this so my points on her were correct and my feelings were correct with what I feel, not what the fuck I thought initially when the shit was spewed a certain way and it wasn't. The facts weren't fully given out and acknowledged. So that's what the fuck that shit is. So before I get into the whole Eminem, Joe Budden shit, I think we got to take a moment to acknowledge what the fuck Joe Budden's doing, because podcasts and making money through your podcasts is relatively new. Only the big podcasts are really making money. The Joe Rogans, the Brendan Schaub, because Brendan Schaub. Okay, see, this is the thing. This is the way I break down podcasting right now. If you're a podcaster or you're trying to podcast or you're thinking of podcasting, these are the ceilings right now, and the ceilings are getting raised every time someone does something new or takes a new step, like Joe Budden took a new step for a hip-hop podcast. So let me get into it. Joe Rogan has all sorts of sponsors and all sorts of big companies paying him a lot of money. We don't know how much money he makes off of his things, but he gets so many views, millions and millions of views, millions and millions of downloads, a lot of streams, a lot of eyes, a lot of ears. Therefore, I'm pretty sure that his structure and his deals for his sponsors are a lot of money. I feel like nobody has a higher sponsorship deal than Joe Rogan for a podcast. And if they're out there, then find them and show them to me, because I don't see it. When it comes to doing something new and breaking the mold, Brendan Schaub has a podcast on TV. It's on Showtime. To have a podcast on a big network like a Showtime or HBO, that's something that's unheard of and something that's new. I don't think anyone else has that type of shit. That's great. I don't know how much bread he's making off of that. You could assume it's a lot at Showtime. It's a major network. Joe Budden now refused to take the sponsorship deals because the bags that they were offering him were laughable, he says. According to him, people like Charlemagne and Andrew Schultz and the Brilliant Idiots and them, they take sponsorship and they take ad money, and they feel like it's good, but they don't even do as much views as the Joe Budden podcast. And the Joe Budden podcast, they feel like the money was trash. So we don't know how the relationships work. At the end of the day, Charlemagne and them are on the Loudspeakers Network. I believe Joe Budden is independent, and that's why it's a big deal, because most podcasts nowadays are on networks, unless you're a comedian, unless you're like a Joe Rogan or like the Brendan Schaub's on the network, but he still has Fighter and the Kid, which is independent, with him and what's his name? Fucking Brian Callen. So basically what I was saying is Joe Budden. What the fuck was I saying? Fuck. This is what happens when you smoke too much. Joe Budden is not taking the ad money, and he structured a deal with Spotify for a Spotify exclusive. So the bag must have been much bigger for the Spotify exclusive Spotify, the way I look at Spotify, and I always didn't really want my podcast to be on Spotify, is because there's a money trail with Spotify. I know for certain, because I'm an artist, and because I know how the music industry works, and because I know how it works when you're streaming songs, I know how Spotify as a platform is set up. They're making money off of every podcast that doesn't have a structured deal, that is streaming and downloading every day. They're making money off of that shit. They're getting the traffic, and they're making money off of my podcast currently and not paying me because I don't have a structured deal with them. Joe Budden structured a deal for a Spotify exclusive. I don't have a Spotify exclusive. My shit can be on any platform I fucking want, but I'm not getting paid by these motherfucking platforms because podcasts haven't grown to the... podcasts in general haven't grown to the extent where it's like music, where anywhere you put your music, you got to pay for it. The platforms, they have to pay for it. The audience, they have to pay for it in some way or somewhere, some sort of fashion. If they're not paying for it directly, it's indirectly through listening to ads on the radio or whatever the fuck, however it structures on Spotify and your $9.99 membership, or if you're downloading music or whatever the fuck it is. Podcasts aren't set up like that yet. So anytime someone breaks the mold, someone finds a new way, it's great for podcasts because everyone else who's doing their podcast and is growing their audience has a new revenue stream popping up and a new availability for some money, because these things make a lot of these streaming companies money, but we're not actually seeing the money. So it's great that's going out, that it's going on like that. And certain podcasts like Joe Budden and other guys, they share the information. So if you're growing your own podcast and you're doing it and you're in the entertainment industry, these niggas is looking out, and this is what's good about this generation. Niggas is looking out now. We're sending down information, and it's like, you just got to learn. Even Spoken Reasons in his live streams on his podcast, he's sending down information. And when you take tidbits of those informations and, you know, you use them shits and you apply them to your own strategies, yeah, it's good. So, yeah, good for Joe Budden and them, making a little history for podcasts. Good for Joe Budden, Maul, and Rory. They have a good podcast, solid podcast. But because artists now are starting their own podcasts, and you see Nicki Minaj doing her Beats Radio. I don't actually know what that is. I haven't heard it. I don't know where you hear it. I don't know if it's a pod. I don't know what it is. I just see shit popping up on Twitter. But I feel like artists now are taking control of the narrative, starting podcasts, doing more things, basically not just speaking on records, speaking on the mic, speaking on podcasts, speaking through conversation. And you can control narratives, and you can switch people's mind and change people's mind on certain things if you keep drilling a narrative into their mind. They're hearing your podcast every day. Joe Budden has always been a great rapper. Underrated because he doesn't make the best music, but he's a good rapper. He's a good lyricist. Him and Shady, when it comes to their whole, when he was talking about the perception thing, his perception of himself is a little different than I feel like the rest of the world's is, because he thinks he's better than Eminem. Or he says he's better than Eminem in the last 10 years. But if you think about the last 10 years, it's 2018. The last 10 years, Eminem's put out Relapse, Refill, Recovery, Marshall Mathers LP2, Revival, and now Kamikaze. So it's like he put out abundance of work. I don't really know all of that's the problem when I'm judging it. I haven't listened to Joe Budden's entire discography. I listened to some of the Mood Musics and a couple of his things that he put out with Slaughterhouse, but I haven't listened to his entire discography. If you're comparing them on a base, Eminem versus Joe, like it's not really comparable. Like Eminem's way ahead of him. Like it's not close. Eminem is one of the greats. He's one of the best rappers of all time. Joe Budden is way out of pocket thinking he's better than him. And when they talk about deep content, you can't. The thing is, you can't talk about the depth of the content, shit on Revival, and then like it just doesn't make sense. You can't say Eminem does not have content or he doesn't say anything in his bars, because when he says something in his bars, you guys shit on his fucking songs. The only time he was saying shit on his songs and it was well received in the last like recent history was on Recovery, because Recovery was saying a whole lot of shit It was well received. He had a lot of that rapidy rap shit that was just rhyming shit that was sick. That shit that I love. Because when I listen to Eminem, to be honest, I don't care. I don't listen to Eminem for all the depth and all the story. Like, I don't care for all that shit. I just want to hear the dopest, illest words rhymed with the most syllables and the craziest flows. Like, that's what I care about. And the good hooks and all that shit. Like, I care about that shit. Eminem had depth on Recovery, and he had that shit. Recovery was in the last 10 years. Nothing Joe Budden's put out in the last 10 years is as good as Recovery, nor Marshall Mathers LP, which was really fucking good lyrically. Yeah, some of the songs were wacky and shit, but it's Marshall Mathers LP too. He was kind of just going back to that old shit, revisiting, putting a little spin on the old type of sound that he had before. I like that album. I don't know how it was received. I don't care. It sold well. I didn't read comments. I didn't see likes, dislikes. I just listened to the fucking album. I can't go back in my mind and remember what the fuck was going on at that time to see how well received it was. But it sold well, so that's all that fucking matters. I even liked Relapse. Eminem likes to throw away Relapse and shit on Relapse. I like Relapse as an album. Relapse, Refill was great. I fucked with all that shit. I don't know. People say he was trash because he was doing all these accents and shit. Yeah, he could have eased up on the accents, but the beats on Relapse were Dre beats. A lot of them were Dre beats. The production on Relapse was so much better and so much, like, so discredited, so underrated, so undervalued. And I'm like, yo, that production on that album was good, because sometimes Eminem does pick some trash beats where you just throw some regular, generic girl on the hook and she sings it and it's just like a whatever song. But on Relapse, Relapse had some fucking tunes, had some bangers. I feel like Joe Budden was, when you listen to his podcast and you listen to the history of him and Eminem and the perception of Eminem from the other guys at Slaughterhouse opposed to him and the way he felt like he was treated and, you know, this, that, and the third, I feel like maybe he could have handled the business a little more. He could have communicated a little bit better. I'm not putting the fault on him, because it's clear what he said a lot of points about Eminem and the way they conduct themselves and the way he didn't do concerts and he wasn't touring. Like, I get all of that stuff. He was making valid points. But at the same time, Joe wasn't promoting stuff at that time. Never promoted stuff. He didn't seem like he had a great, like, he wasn't communicating with them. Well, according to Crooked Eye, he said he didn't really say any of that stuff. He could have said that shit back then if he was happy. If he was unhappy with the deal, he could have restructured. He could have tried to exit. He said he didn't have those conversations. Joe Budden, I'm pretty sure he said otherwise. But it's a very sticky situation when it comes to that type of shit. I feel that Joe is just a little misguided when it comes to the skill of Eminem versus himself. Yes, Eminem hasn't been, like, people say that if he keeps putting out music, he's just tarnishing his legacy because it's not getting any better. It's only getting worse. I haven't listened to the full Kamikaze album yet, so I'm going to go review that, and then I'm going to see where I stand on that. But I don't know. That diss track that he put out, dissing those niggas, like, if that was in 2010, when he was, like, spitting, like, Recovery shit, I feel like those bars would have been harder and they would have hit harder and they would have been more aggressive, because that shit was, like, fire back then when he was spitting. It's not just the early Eminem that was dope. It was not just the Marshall Mathers LP days and the Slim Shady LP days and the Eminem Show days. It's not just that was dope. He was dope when he started coming aggressive. Remember when he killed, what beat did he kill? He killed one of Drake's songs, and then he killed Beamer Benz Bentley. And he destroyed those beats, and that's when he came out, and then he started doing Recovery and shit. That's when he came with that aggressive, fast, witty, super syllable punchline flow that was nasty. So it's like, you cannot hate on recent Eminem, but the most recent shit is not as fire as that shit. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think it's as fire as that stuff, but I haven't listened to the whole thing, so I'm giving judgment before listening, like I did with the Azealia Banks thing. So that's a mistake on my behalf. I'm gonna go listen to that soon. So yeah, that's where I stand on that. I feel like Joe Budden's not going to rap. So if you're not going to rap and you're going to say you're retired, then I don't think you should say you're better than anybody. Because if you're not active and you're not rapping, then you can't say you're better than people. You might think that, but you can't really persuade the public to believe that on a podcast. Just by speaking on a podcast, I'm better than this guy. Like, no, you got to prove it. Yeah, we can listen to your old stuff, but we can listen to Eminem's old stuff, and then it's not really like you're not really standing up as high as that. So I don't know. I listened to Machine Gun Kelly's diss track. I don't know why people think it's good. It's laughable to me, but he has fans and he has a fan base and he has, people think he has talent. I'm not saying he doesn't have talent. I'm just not. I haven't listened to a lot of his records to know, but that record I listened to, I didn't really find it. It was just funny. For me, it was funny because it sounded like he was making some points, talking about his age and, Eminem's age and his dad has or whatever the fuck. But I feel like you can't call the man the GOAT on a track you diss him on. You can't say yada, yada, yada about the man and then call him the GOAT and then continue to bash him. It's like you called him the GOAT. Like, what is there to say after that? You called him the GOAT. Like, I don't understand it. So for me, I'm like, whatever. If Eminem responds to that, he's wasting his time. If Joe Budden doesn't respond to Eminem, you can't really say you're a better rapper unless you give him the bars and then you bar him the fuck down and people are like, oh shit, he destroyed him. Then you can be like, yeah, I'm the better rapper, I'm the superior guy, this, that, and that. But, sticky. Joe had problems. He always had problems in the industry when it comes to the labels. When he was on Def Jam with Shady, I feel like he needed to have more representation or someone to speak to these motherfuckers. Or he could have been a little more vocal in the past and speak to these motherfuckers. Or he did all of that shit and the industry's just fucked up because I know how the industry is. I know how these motherfuckers behind closed doors. I know how they fucking move. The shit is snaky. It's very tricky. But he's back in the industry. He's making new friends. He's with Puff. He's with Revolt. I like that he has a show on Revolt with Remy Ma. That is one of the other things I want to talk about. This is almost like a Joe Budden fucking episode where I'm just talking about Joe Budden. But yeah, he has the new series with Remy Ma. No episodes came out yet. It's coming out soon. It's gonna air on TV. It's gonna be on YouTube, obviously. I don't know if Remy Ma was the best co-host choice. I don't know how she is in the media. I don't know how she reviews artists. I don't know if she's PC. I don't know if she's too raw and comes off too hatery. It is yet to be seen, and that's probably why they felt like it's good, because people want to see what the fuck she's going to say. But now she has a platform and she has a voice. So if you're a female artist that wants to be, active in putting out music and have a voice and controlling the narrative, then you might have to have a podcast, or you might have to start a radio shit like Nicki Minaj or something, because this is the way the industry's changing now. You can't just be a recluse. You got to show yourself. You got to be active in the culture. You got to have a voice. Shit's changing. I'm going to wrap up this episode. I got a lot of episodes dropping. I'm going to drop an episode right on top of this episode. So when this episode airs, episode 11, episode 12 will come out like an hour after, if not at the same fucking time, because you know how the rendering works. Blunt Talk with LT, statguap.com/shop.